Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Computer Scientist. Tonight, we're descending into one of the most cryptic, elaborate, and mind-bending mysteries the internet has ever witnessed. A puzzle so complex that it spanned continents, required knowledge of medieval texts, advanced cryptography, and ancient runes. A challenge that sent thousands of brilliant minds racing through layers of hidden messages, physical coordinates across the globe, and darknet labyrinths. This is the story of Cicada 3301, an enigma that appeared without warning, recruited in the shadows, and vanished just as mysteriously as it arrived. If you enjoy these quiet explorations into the hidden corners of technology and mystery, I invite you to like and subscribe or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, settle in, let the night wrap around you, and prepare to journey into the deepest rabbit hole the digital age has ever created. Let's begin. On January 4th, 2012, at precisely 5 o'clock in the evening Greenwich Mean Time, someone posted an image on 4chan's random board, known colloquially as /B. The image was simple, almost crude in its design. White text on a stark black background. It read, "Hello, we're looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck. 3331. Below the text was a drawing of a cicada, an insect known for its mysterious life cycles, spending years underground before emerging en masse in synchronized swarms that can number in the millions. What followed was not a simple internet scavenger hunt or a viral marketing campaign for an upcoming video game or movie. It was a meticulously crafted cryptographic odyssey that would require solvers to master Steganography, the art of hiding messages within other messages; number theory, the branch of mathematics dealing with the properties of integers and prime numbers; ancient ciphers used by Julius Caesar and Renaissance scholars; classical literature from authors like Aleister Crowley and William Blake; medieval manuscripts and constructed runic alphabets. And perhaps most strikingly, participants would need to venture into the physical world to retrieve clues hidden at GPS coordinates spanning 14 cities across 5 continents, from Warsaw to Seoul, from Sydney to Miami. Those who made it to the end of the 2012 puzzle were never heard from again publicly. They were welcomed into something, invited through a digital doorway that closed behind them. But what that something was, what organisation or collective or purpose lay on the other side, remains one of the internet's greatest unsolved mysteries. Was it a recruitment tool for an intelligence agency like the NSA or MI6? A secret society in the tradition of the Freemasons or Rosicrucians? A cypherpunk collective dedicated to protecting digital privacy and freedom? Or something else entirely? Something we cannot yet comprehend? To understand the significance of Cicada 3301, we must first understand the context in which it appeared. The year 2012 was a pivotal moment for internet culture, digital privacy, and the relationship between citizens and their governments. WikiLeaks, the controversial transparency organization founded by Julian Assange, had recently released massive caches of classified documents, including the Iraq War logs and the Afghan War Diary, exposing the realities of modern warfare and diplomatic machinations. The organization had also published thousands of State Department cables, causing diplomatic embarrassment to the United States and its allies around the world. Anonymous, the decentralized hacktivist collective identifiable by their Guy Fawkes masks, was at the height of its influence. They had launched operations against corporations, governments, and organizations they deemed corrupt or oppressive. Operation Payback targeted companies that had withdrawn services from WikiLeaks. Operation Tunisia and Operation Egypt provided support to protesters during the Arab Spring uprisings. These actions demonstrated that non-state actors, working anonymously and collaboratively across borders, could have real-world impact. Edward Snowden was still an unknown NSA contractor working in Hawaii, 1 year away from his world-changing revelations about the scope and scale of government surveillance programs. The general public was largely unaware of programs like PRISM, which allowed intelligence agencies to collect vast amounts of data from internet companies. The notion that every email, every phone call, every web search might be swept up in dragnet surveillance was not yet common knowledge. But among security researchers, cryptographers, and privacy advocates, the writing was on the wall. The digital age had created unprecedented opportunities for surveillance, and governments were taking full advantage. The Silk Road, the darknet's notorious black market, was thriving on the Tor network. Founded in February 2011 by Ross Ulbricht under the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, the Silk Road allowed users to buy and sell goods anonymously using Bitcoin cryptocurrency. While the marketplace was controversial for facilitating illegal transactions, it was also a demonstration of the power of anonymizing technologies and decentralized currencies. It showed that it was possible to create digital spaces that operated outside the reach of traditional law enforcement and regulatory structures. Cryptography was no longer the sole domain of academics and intelligence agencies. It had become a tool of resistance, a method of ensuring privacy in an increasingly surveilled digital landscape. Tools like PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy, which allowed individuals to encrypt their communications and verify the authenticity of messages, were being adopted by journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens concerned about their privacy. The Tor network, originally developed by the US Naval Research Laboratory to protect government communications, had been released as free software and was being used by dissidents in authoritarian countries, whistleblowers, and anyone seeking to browse the internet without being tracked. It was in this environment, this moment of technological possibility and political tension, that Cicada 33001 appeared. The choice of 4chan as the launching point was deliberate and significant. 4chan's random board /B was a lawless digital frontier, a place where anonymity reigned supreme and nothing was taken at face value. Founded in 2003 by Christopher Poole, known as Moot, 4chan became notorious for its lack of registration requirements, its ephemeral threads that disappeared within hours, and its culture of pranks, raids, and subversive humour. It was also the birthplace of Anonymous and many other internet phenomena. For Cicada 3301 to appear on 4chan was to tap into a specific community, a community that valued anonymity, that was skeptical of authority, that prided itself on technical sophistication and insider knowledge. It was the perfect breeding ground for a mystery that would capture the imaginations of cryptographers, hackers, puzzle enthusiasts, and curious onlookers around the world. The post itself was unremarkable in appearance, easily overlooked among the thousands of other images and messages posted to /B every day. But embedded within that simple image was a challenge that would separate the curious from the capable, the casual observers from the dedicated solvers. The number 3301 is itself significant, and likely not chosen at random. It is a prime number, one of those integers greater than 1 that has no positive divisors other than 1 in itself. But 3301 is not just any prime, it is a twin prime, meaning that 3301 and 3299 are both prime numbers, differing by only 2. Twin primes have fascinated mathematicians for centuries. The twin prime conjecture, which states that there are infinitely many twin primes, remains one of the most famous unsolved problems in mathematics. Additionally, when the digits of 3301 are reversed, we get 1033, which is also prime. This property of remaining prime under digit reversal is rare and elegant. This fascination with prime numbers would become a recurring theme throughout the Cicada puzzles, appearing again and again as keys, seeds, and structural elements of the challenge. Prime numbers have long held a mystical quality in mathematics and philosophy. They are the building blocks of all other numbers, the atoms of arithmetic. Every integer can be expressed as a product of primes in exactly one way, a fact known as the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. In cryptography, primes are foundational. RSA encryption, the backbone of secure internet communication and the system that protects your credit card information when you shop online, relies entirely on the difficulty of factoring the product of 2 large prime numbers. It is easy to multiply 2 large primes together, but extraordinarily difficult to reverse the process and determine which primes were used. To choose 3301 as an identifier was to signal to the world. This is about mathematics, about security, about finding those who understand the hidden architecture of numbers. It was a statement that the creators of this puzzle valued mathematical beauty and cryptographic strength. It suggested that the challenge ahead would require not just casual problem-solving skills, but deep mathematical knowledge and the ability to think in abstract, structured ways. When the first image appeared on 4chan on that January evening in 2012, most users scrolled past it without a second thought. /B was, and remains, a chaotic stream of images, memes, provocations, and nonsense. Thousands of posts are made every hour, most disappearing into the digital void within minutes. But a handful of users noticed something unusual about the Cicada image. The file size was larger than expected for such a simple graphic. An image consisting only of white text on a black background should be quite small when compressed as a JPEG. The fact that this image was significantly larger hinted at the presence of hidden data, something beyond what the eye could see. Steganography, the art of concealing messages within other messages, has existed for millennia. The word itself comes from the Greek word steganos, meaning covered or concealed, and graphene, meaning writing. Ancient Greeks would shave a messenger's head, tattoo a message on the scalp, wait for the hair to grow back, and send the messenger across enemy lines. The message was invisible to anyone who didn't know to look for it. In the Middle Ages, people wrote messages in invisible inks that would only appear when heated or treated with specific chemicals. During World War II, microdots, photographs reduced to the size of a printed period, were used to hide messages in plain sight. In the digital age, steganography involves hiding data within the binary structure of files. Digital images, for example, consist of pixels, each pixel encoded as a series of numbers representing color values. By subtly altering the least significant bits of these numbers, bits that have minimal impact on the visible appearance of the image, you can embed hidden information. To the human eye, the image looks normal, perhaps identical to the original. But to someone who knows how to extract the hidden data, an entirely different message can be revealed. The first solvers of the Cicada puzzle open the image file in text editors and hexadecimal viewers, examining its raw code. At the end of the file, beyond where the image data should have ended, they found a hidden string of text. It was encrypted using a Caesar cipher, one of the oldest and simplest forms of encryption. Named after Julius Caesar, who used it to protect military communications over 2,000 years ago. The Caesar cipher shifts each letter of the alphabet by a fixed number of positions. If the shift is 3, then A becomes D, B becomes E, C becomes F, and so on. At the end of the alphabet, the sequence wraps around, so X becomes A, Y becomes B, and Z becomes C. The Caesar cipher is trivially easy to break by modern standards. There are only 26 possible shifts in the English alphabet, so a determined person could simply try all of them, a method known as a brute force attack. More sophisticated methods involve analysing the frequency of letters in the encrypted text and comparing them to the known frequencies of letters in English. The letter E, for example, is the most common letter in English text, appearing about 13% of the time. By identifying which encrypted letter appears most frequently, you can make an educated guess about the shift value. The hidden text in the Cicada image, when decrypted using the appropriate Caesar shift, revealed a URL pointing to a specific subreddit, a community forum on the website Reddit. But simply opening the image and reading the Caesar shifted text was not enough. Experienced digital investigators, those familiar with steganography and information security, knew that images could contain far more sophisticated hidden data than a simple text string appended to the end of the file. They turned to a tool called Outguess, a steganography program designed specifically to extract and embed hidden information within JPEG images. Outguess was created by Niels Provos, a security researcher and computer scientist. The program uses sophisticated algorithms to hide data in ways that are statistically difficult to detect. When Outguess was run on the original Cicada image, it revealed a much longer hidden message, several paragraphs of text that had been imperceptibly woven into the image data. This message was signed with a PGP key, a cryptographic signature that verified its authenticity. PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy, is a cryptographic system created by Phil Zimmermann in 1991. It allows users to encrypt messages so that only the intended recipient can read them, and to sign messages in a way that proves the message came from a specific person and has not been tampered with. PGP uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric encryption. When you want to send an encrypted message, PGP generates a random session key and uses it to encrypt the message using a fast symmetric algorithm. It then encrypts the session key itself using the recipient's public key, a piece of information that is openly shared. Only the recipient, who possesses the corresponding private key, can decrypt the session key and thus decrypt the message. Digital signatures work in reverse. When you sign a message with PGP, the software creates a mathematical hash of the message, a unique fingerprint that changes if even a single character of the message is altered. This hash is then encrypted with your private key, creating the signature. Anyone can verify the signature by decrypting it with your public key and comparing the result to a hash they compute from the message. If the hashes match, the signature is valid, proving that the message came from you and has not been modified. The fact that Cicada used PGP from the very beginning was a powerful signal. This was not a prank or a casual game. This was not someone looking for attention or trying to create a viral marketing campaign. Every message from Cicada 3301 would be cryptographically signed with the same PGP key, a guarantee of authenticity in a world where anyone could claim to be 3301. Over the years, numerous hoaxes and imitations would appear, claiming to be new Cicada puzzles. Each time, these fakes could be immediately identified because they lacked the proper PGP signature. Cicada's commitment to this standard of verification was absolute. The PGP-signed message extracted from the image directed solvers to a specific subreddit that had been created for the puzzle. On that subreddit was another image, similar in appearance to the first. This image, when analysed without guess, revealed yet another layer, a message containing a long string of seemingly random numbers and text. This text was not random at all. It was a book cipher, also known as a Beale cipher, after the famous unsolved Beale ciphers that allegedly describe the location of buried treasure in Virginia. A book cipher is an encryption method where numbers correspond to specific words in a particular book or text. The numbers might represent page numbers, line numbers, and word positions, or they might simply be a numbered list of words in sequence. To decrypt the message, you need to know which book to use. Without the correct book, the cipher is virtually impossible to break, because there is no mathematical pattern to exploit, only an arbitrary mapping between numbers and words. Cicada provided a clue to the correct book, a reference embedded within the ciphertext itself. The book in question was the Book of the Law, also known by its Latin title, Liber al vel legis. This text was written, or as its author claimed, dictated to him by a supernatural entity in Cairo, Egypt, in 1904. The author was Aleister Crowley, one of the most controversial and fascinating figures of the 20th century. Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He founded the religious philosophy of Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted to guide humanity into the Aeon of Horus, a new era of human spiritual development. Crowley's life was marked by scandal, unconventional behaviour, and a relentless pursuit of esoteric knowledge. He was called the wickedest man in the world by the British press, a title he seemed to relish. He experimented with drugs, practiced sex magic, and challenged the moral conventions of Victorian and Edwardian society at every turn. The Book of the Law is the central sacred text of Thelema. According to Crowley, the book was dictated to him over 3 days in April 1904 by a voice claiming to be Aiwass, the messenger of Horus. The text is cryptic, poetic, and often disturbing. It proclaims, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," and "Love is the law, love under will." These phrases are often misunderstood. They do not advocate for hedonistic license or doing whatever one pleases without regard for consequences. Rather, they express the idea that every individual has a true will, a unique purpose or calling, and that the highest moral imperative is to discover and fulfill that will. Love under will means that love, properly understood, is the force that aligns one with one's true will, not sentimental attachment or selfish desire. Whether one accepts Crowley's supernatural claims or views the book as a product of his own brilliant and troubled mind, the Book of the Law is a cornerstone of Western esoteric tradition. Its influence can be seen in modern occultism, neo-paganism, chaos magic, and various countercultural movements. The choice of this book for Cicada's first cipher was the initial indication that the puzzles would not be confined to computer science and mathematics. They would also require knowledge of philosophy, mysticism, classical literature, and the history of Western esotericism. Using the Book of the Law as the key, solvers decoded the book cipher to reveal a phone number. This was the first time the puzzle left the purely digital realm. Suddenly, the mystery had a tangible real-world component. Solvers who called the number heard an automated voice message, impersonal and robotic. The message provided another clue, instructing them to multiply 3 prime numbers together and add .com to the result to find the next step. One of the primes was 3301, the identifier of the puzzle itself. The other 2 prime numbers were hidden in different places, embedded in the metadata of images or mentioned in previous clues. When these 3 primes were multiplied together, they produced a very large number. This number, when used as a domain name, led to a website that displayed only a countdown timer. The timer was set to expire at 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on January 9th, 2012, exactly 5 days after the puzzle had begun. The internet held its breath. Solvers from around the world watched the countdown, speculating about what would happen when it reached 0. Would there be a final puzzle, a grand revelation, a message from the mysterious 3301? When the countdown ended, the website displayed a list of 14 GPS coordinates. These coordinates were not clustered in one region or country. They were spread across the entire globe, spanning 5 continents and multiple time zones: Paris, France, Warsaw, Poland, Seoul, South Korea, Seattle, Washington, Tempe, Arizona, California, New Orleans, Louisiana, Miami, Florida, Hawaii, Sydney, Australia, Okinawa, Japan, Dallas, Texas, Moscow, Russia, and one more. Each coordinate pointed to a specific location in a major city, often a street corner, a public park, or a university campus. Solvers who lived near these cities, or who could afford to travel to them, set out on a real-world treasure hunt. This was unprecedented in the world of internet puzzles. Most ARGs, or alternate reality games, incorporate some real-world elements, but typically these are limited to websites, phone numbers, or email addresses. To have physical objects placed at specific coordinates around the world required significant resources, coordination, and boldness. It meant that Cicada 3301, whoever or whatever they were, had operatives or collaborators in at least 14 countries, people who could be trusted to place materials in public locations without drawing attention or being discovered. What solvers found at each location was a poster affixed to a telephone pole, a light post, or a public bulletin board. The posters were printed on standard paper, weatherproofed against rain and wind. They featured the now familiar image of a cicada, this same insect that had appeared in the original 4chan post. Below the image was a QR code, a type of 2-dimensional barcode that can be scanned with a smartphone to reveal text, URLs, or other data. QR codes, which stand for Quick Response Codes, were invented in 1994 by a Japanese company called Denso Wave. Originally designed to track automotive parts during manufacturing, QR codes became widely popular as smartphones with cameras became ubiquitous. By 2012, most smartphones could scan QR codes using free apps, instantly translating the black and white patterns into usable information. When solvers scanned the QR codes on the Cicada posters, they were directed to new images hosted on specific web servers. Each of these images, when processed through Outguess, contained another PGP-signed message. Remarkably, all of the messages from all 14 locations were identical. This was a crucial moment in the puzzle. It confirmed that the physical component was not a hoax or a coincidence, but an integral part of the challenge. The fact that identical messages were hidden at 14 different locations around the world also demonstrated the scale and seriousness of Cicada's operation. This was not a casual project undertaken by a bored programmer or a small group of friends. This required planning, resources, and a global network of some kind. The messages extracted from the QR codes contained a series of 10-12-digit numbers. At first glance, these numbers seemed random, but solvers quickly realized they were IP addresses written in decimal format rather than the standard dotted decimal notation most people are familiar with. An IP address, which stands for Internet Protocol Address, is a unique numerical label assigned to each device connected to a computer network. In the most common version, IPv4, an IP address consists of 4 numbers, each ranging from 0 to 255, separated by periods, for example, 192.168.1.1. However, an IP address can also be represented as a single large decimal number. The conversion is straightforward. The first number is multiplied by 256 cubed, the second by 256 squared, the third by 256, and the fourth is added as is. The result is a number between 0 and about 4.3 billion, the total number of possible IPv4 addresses. When solvers converted the 10-12-digit numbers from the Cicada message back into standard dotted decimal notation, they obtained 10 IP addresses. These addresses pointed to servers hosting additional images. Each of these images, once again analysed without guess, contained hidden messages. But this time the hidden messages were not in English. They were not in any known language. They were written in runes, characters from ancient alphabets used by Germanic peoples before the adoption of the Latin alphabet. Runes are more than just letters. In many historical and cultural contexts, they carried magical and mystical significance. The word rune itself comes from the Old Norse word run, meaning secret or mystery. The most well-known runic alphabet is the Elder Futhark, used by early Germanic tribes from the 2nd to the 8th centuries AD. The name Futhark comes from the first 6 letters of the alphabet, F, U, Th, A, R, K. Each rune had a name and was associated with specific concepts, gods, or natural phenomena. Runes were carved into stone, wood, and metal, used for inscriptions, divination, and magical purposes. The runes in the Cicada puzzle, however, were not from the Elder Futhark or any other historical runic alphabet. This was the first appearance of what would later become known as the Gematria Primus, a completely original runic system created specifically by Cicada 3301. Gematria is a traditional Jewish and Kabbalistic practice of assigning numerical values to letters and words. The word itself likely derives from the Greek word geometria, meaning geometry or measurement. In Gematria, words with the same numerical value are considered to have hidden connections or meanings. The most famous example is the Hebrew word chai, meaning life, which has a numerical value of 18. This is why gifts and donations in Jewish culture are often given in multiples of 18. The Gematria Primus, used by Cicada 3301, is a mapping between runic symbols and numerical values. Each rune corresponds to a number, and sequences of runes can be interpreted as numbers, which can then be mapped to letters in the Latin alphabet or used as keys for further encryption. The system is elegant and complex, incorporating mathematical properties such as prime numbers and modular arithmetic. The creation of an entirely new runic alphabet suggested that Cicada 3301 was more than just a recruitment tool. It was a work of art, a cultural artifact, a modern myth deliberately constructed and wrapped in layers of ancient symbolism. The runic messages, when translated using the newly introduced Gematria Primus system, revealed philosophical statements and parables. One of the most significant passages was a description of a classic problem in cryptography, often called the key distribution problem. The passage read, "A parable. Suppose a king has a message to send to another king. The first king gives the message to a messenger who must cross enemy territory. If the messenger is captured, the message will be read by the enemy. To protect the message, it is encrypted. But if the key to the cipher is also in the possession of the messenger, then the enemy can still read the message. How can the king ensure that only the intended recipient can read the message?" This is a direct reference to the concept of asymmetric cryptography, also known as public key cryptography. which revolutionized information security in the 1970s. Before public key cryptography, all encryption systems were symmetric. This means the same key was used to encrypt and decrypt messages. The fundamental problem was how to securely share this key. If you wanted to send an encrypted message to someone, you first had to find a secure way to give them the key, which often required a face-to-face meeting or a trusted courier. This was impractical for large-scale communication networks. The breakthrough came when mathematicians Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman, along with Ralph Merkle, developed the concept of public key cryptography. Instead of a single shared key, each user has two keys, a public key, which can be freely distributed to anyone, and a private key, which is kept secret. Messages encrypted with the public key can only be decrypted with the corresponding private key. This solves the key distribution problem. If Alice wants to send an encrypted message to Bob, she simply obtains Bob's public key, which he has published openly, uses it to encrypt the message, and sends the ciphertext. Only Bob, with his private key, can decrypt it. Even if an adversary intercepts the message and has access to Bob's public key, they cannot decrypt the message without his private key. The most famous public key encryption system is RSA, named after its inventors Ron Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Leonard Adleman. RSA security depends on the mathematical difficulty of factoring large numbers. Given two large prime numbers, it is easy to multiply them together, but given only the product, it's extremely difficult to determine which primes were used, especially when the numbers are hundreds of digits long. Modern RSA keys use primes that are 1,024 bits or longer, making factorization infeasible with current technology. The Cicada message continued, outlining principles of information security, privacy, and what it called the sacredness of knowledge. It emphasized that information wants to be free, a phrase popularized by technology journalist Stuart Brand in the 1980s. The full quote is often misunderstood. Brand actually said, "Information wants to be free. Information also wants to be expensive. Information wants to be free because it has become so cheap to distribute, copy and recombine, too cheap to meter. It wants to be expensive because it can be immeasurably valuable to the recipient. That tension will not go away." Cicada's philosophy, as expressed in these early messages, seemed to lean toward the first half of Brand's statement. Information should be free, accessible, and protected from censorship, but it should also be protected from unauthorized access, surveillance, and manipulation. This is the cypherpunk ideal. Use strong cryptography to create spaces where privacy is guaranteed, where individuals can communicate and transact without oversight or interference. The message ended with a URL on the Tor network, the Darknet, also known as the Dark Web. Tor, which stands for the Onion Router, is a network designed to anonymize internet traffic, making it extremely difficult to trace users' locations, IP addresses, or activities. The name comes from the method by which it achieves anonymity. When you use Tor, your data is encrypted in multiple layers, like the layers of an onion, and routed through a series of volunteer-operated servers called nodes or relays. Each relay decrypts one layer to learn where to send the data next, but cannot see the full path or the content of the message. By the time the data reaches its destination, it has passed through multiple relays, making it virtually impossible to trace back to the source. Tor was originally developed by the US Naval Research Laboratory in the mid-1990s to protect government communications. The software was released as free and open source in the early 2000s and is now maintained by the Tor Project, a non-profit organization. Tor is used by a wide range of people for different reasons. Journalists in authoritarian countries use it to communicate with sources without fear of surveillance. Activists use it to organize protests and share information securely. Whistleblowers use it to leak documents to media organizations. Ordinary citizens concerned about privacy use it to browse the internet without being tracked by advertisers or governments. The Tor network also hosts hidden services, websites that are only accessible through Tor and whose physical locations are concealed. These sites have addresses ending in .onion instead of .com or .org. Because both the user and the website are anonymized, Tor hidden services provide a high degree of privacy. This has made them popular for legitimate purposes, such as whistleblowing platforms and privacy-focused forums, but also for illegal activities, such as drug markets and illegal content distribution. The Silk Road, the darknet marketplace shut down by the FBI in 2013, was a Tor hidden service. For Cicada 3301 to move the puzzle onto Tor was a clear statement about the group's values: privacy, anonymity, security, freedom from surveillance. The Tor site displayed another image and another countdown timer, this one set for a few days in the future. When this countdown expired, solvers were presented with a new challenge, described by some as the most difficult stage of the entire puzzle. They were given a final test, a series of complex cryptographic challenges that required not only technical skill, but also speed and the ability to work under pressure. The nature of this final puzzle is not entirely known, as those who solved it were instructed not to share the details publicly. What is known is that successful solvers received a personal message, also PGP signed with Cicada's key, welcoming them to the next stage. The message was brief and enigmatic. "You have done well. We have now received enough responses. The path is now closed. You will hear from us soon." And then, silence. Those who were welcomed into Cicada 3301 did not publicly discuss what happened next. Some posted on forums to confirm they'd been accepted, but provided no details about what they were asked to do or what they learned. This adherence to secrecy is remarkable in the age of social media, where nearly every experience, no matter how trivial or significant, is documented and shared instantly. But those who made it through the puzzle understood that discretion was part of the test. Cicada was not just looking for people who could solve puzzles. It was looking for people who could be trusted, who understood the value of secrecy, and who were willing to operate in the shadows. Several solvers later reported that they received follow-up communications directing them to private forums on the darknet, where they were questioned about their beliefs, their skills, and their motivations. Exactly 1 year later, on January 4th, 2013, Cicada 3301 returned. Another image appeared on 4chan at precisely the same time as the first puzzle, 5 p.m. GMT. It bore the same cryptic message. "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test." The 2013 puzzle followed a similar structure to the 2012 puzzle, but with increased complexity and new elements. Once again, solvers navigated through layers of steganography, extracting hidden messages from images using outguess and other tools. Once again, book ciphers required them to engage with classical texts. Once again, GPS coordinates were provided, leading to physical posters in cities around the world, though some of the cities were different from the previous year. But this time, the puzzles incorporated new dimensions. There were references to classical music, specifically to the works of composers who were known for embedding mathematical structures into their compositions. There were references to poetry, to the works of T.S. Eliot and William Blake, visionary poets who explored themes of mysticism, transformation, and the nature of reality. there were references to Renaissance art, to paintings and sculptures that contained hidden symbols and esoteric meanings. One stage of the puzzle required solvers to decode a message hidden within a spectrogram. A spectrogram is a visual representation of the frequencies present in an audio signal, showing how the frequency content of the signal varies over time. When certain audio files provided by Cicada were analysed as spectrograms, hidden images appeared within the frequency data. These images were not audible. They were only visible when the audio was displayed in spectrogram form. This was an elegant demonstration of the idea that information can be hidden in unexpected ways, that data can take forms beyond what our senses naturally perceive. The 2013 puzzle also made more extensive use of the Gematria Primus runic system. Solvers had to learn the rules of this cipher more thoroughly, understanding not just the basic letter-to-number correspondences, but also more complex properties. The system incorporated concepts from number theory, such as modular arithmetic, totient functions, and the properties of prime numbers. These mathematical structures were not arbitrary. They were chosen to reflect deeper philosophical ideas about order, structure, and the hidden patterns underlying reality. At one point in the 2013 puzzle, solvers were directed to a website containing a massive text file, written entirely in Gematria Primus runes. This document was later identified as the beginning of Liber Primus, Latin for first book, or primary book. Liber Primus is a 74-page manuscript, a digital codex written entirely in the Gematria Primus cipher. To date, only about 19 of its 74 pages have been fully or partially decrypted, despite years of concentrated effort by dedicated solvers and cryptanalysts around the world. The solved pages of Liber Primus contain philosophical musings, cryptographic lessons, historical references, and passages that read like sacred scripture. One passage reads, "An instruction. Command your own self. A woeful arbor binds the people. The people know their woe, but they have set their hearts on an image. The people have become fond of their torment. Many of them know not that they are enchained. Command your own self." This passage reflects themes of self-determination, awareness, and freedom from illusion. It echoes Gnostic ideas about enlightenment through knowledge and liberation from false reality, concepts that have roots in ancient Greek philosophy and early Christian mysticism. Gnosticism, which flourished in the first few centuries of the Common Era, taught that the material world is a flawed or even malevolent creation, a prison for divine sparks of consciousness. True salvation comes not through faith or good works, but through gnosis, secret knowledge that reveals the nature of reality and one's true identity. Different Gnostic sects had different cosmologies and mythologies, but they shared the belief that hidden knowledge is the key to liberation. The language of Liber Primus, with its emphasis on commanding oneself and recognizing enchainment, fits squarely within this tradition. Another solved passage from Liber Primus discusses the totient function and its relationship to encryption. The totient function, also known as Euler's totient function or phi function, is a fundamental concept in number theory. For a given positive integer n, the totient function counts how many integers less than n are coprime to n. Two numbers are coprime if their greatest common divisor is 1, meaning they share no common factors other than 1. For example, the totient of 9 is 6, because the numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 7 and 8 are all coprime to 9. The totient function has deep connections to cryptography, particularly in the RSA algorithm. When generating RSA keys, you select two large prime numbers, p and q, and multiply them together to get n. The totient of n in this case is p-1 times q-1. This value is used to compute the encryption and decryption exponents. The security of RSA depends on the fact that computing the totient of n is easy if you know the factors p and q, but extremely difficult if you only know n and do not know its factors. The Liber Primus passage explains that the totient of a prime number is always one less than the prime itself, because every number less than a prime is coprime to it. This is a fundamental property in number theory. The passage continues. Epiphany is a moment of sudden revelation. The path lies empty. Epiphany seeks the devoted. Liber Primus is the way. Its words are the map. Their meaning is the road, and their numbers are the direction. This suggests that the book is not just a text to be read passively, but a puzzle to be solved actively, a map to a deeper understanding, a guide on a journey of enlightenment. The unsolved pages of Liber Primus remain one of the most tantalizing mysteries of Cicada 3301. Cryptanalysts have tried numerous approaches: frequency analysis, pattern matching, known plaintext attacks, brute force methods. Some believe the unsolved pages require a key or piece of information that has not yet been discovered, perhaps hidden in earlier stages of the puzzles, or in messages that were only sent to successful solvers. Others believe the pages may be solvable with sufficient mathematical insight and computational power. Still others speculate that the unsolved portions may not be encrypted at all, but may be written in a different language or symbolic system that has yet to be identified. The fact that Cicada has not provided additional hints or keys suggests that either the book is meant to remain partially unsolved, a perpetual mystery, or that the information necessary to solve it has already been provided and solvers simply have not yet made the breakthrough. This can imply that Liber Primus is not just part of the recruitment process, but an ongoing test, a lifelong challenge for those who are drawn to the mystery of Cicada 3301. The 2013 puzzle culminated in another invitation to a private forum on the darknet. Those who made it through the final stages were once again welcomed and instructed not to share what they learned. But this time, more details began to leak out, as some solvers chose to speak publicly about their experiences. Marcus Warner, a college student from the United States, was one of the few who went public with his story. He successfully completed the 2013 puzzle and received the welcome message. He was then directed to a private forum where he and other successful solvers were questioned about their beliefs regarding privacy, freedom of information, and the ethics of encryption. The questions were not simple yes or no queries, but deep, probing inquiries designed to assess whether the solver's values aligned with those of Cicada 3301. Warner reported that he was asked about his views on government surveillance, on the responsibility of individuals to protect their own privacy, and on the role of technology in either empowering or oppressing people. His answers apparently satisfied the questioners because he was invited to participate in projects aligned with Cicada's ideology. One of these projects was described as CAKES, which stood for the Cicada Anonymous Key Escrow System. The concept was to create a cryptographic tool that would allow whistleblowers, journalists, and activists to communicate securely without fear of surveillance or retaliation. The system would use a form of key escrow, where encryption keys are stored securely but can be accessed under specific conditions, ensuring that even if one party's system is compromised, the communications remain protected. This was during the time when Chelsea Manning, formerly known as Bradley Manning, was facing trial for leaking hundreds of thousands of classified documents to WikiLeaks, and Edward Snowden was only months away from his revelations about NSA surveillance programs. The timing of Cicada's recruitment and the projects they proposed was not coincidental. Warner described the experience as surreal. He was interacting with an anonymous organization through encrypted channels, working on software to protect privacy, collaborating with others he knew only by pseudonyms. At one point, the forum was abruptly shut down without explanation, and Warner received no further communication from Cicada. He was left with more questions than answers. Who were these people? What was their larger goal? Why had they gone to such elaborate lengths to recruit? Were the projects they proposed ever completed, or did the organization dissolve or move on to other activities? Eventually, Warner chose to speak publicly about his experience, though he was careful not to reveal anything that might compromise the security of others or violate the trust that had been placed in him. He gave interviews to journalists and posted about his experiences on forums dedicated to the Cicada mystery. His account provided valuable insights, but also deepened the enigma. If Cicada was recruiting people to work on privacy tools, and if those tools were successfully developed, where are they now? Were they released to the public, used by activists and whistleblowers around the world? Or were they kept secret, used only by a select group? Another solver who spoke publicly was Joel Eriksson, a Swedish programmer and security consultant. Eriksson was one of the early solvers of the 2012 puzzle. He made it to the final stages but was ultimately told he was too slow. The final message he received on the Tor site read, "We want the best, not the followers." This harsh dismissal was disappointing, but it also reinforced the competitive nature of the puzzle and the high standards that Cicada demanded. The organization was not interested in everyone who tried, or even everyone who succeeded. It was interested only in the very best, those who could solve the puzzles quickly, independently, and with minimal collaboration. Eriksson later reflected on the experience, describing it as both exhilarating and frustrating. He had devoted days to the puzzle, navigating its layers with skill and determination, only to be turned away at the end because he was not fast enough. This raised questions about Cicada's criteria. Was speed the only measure of worthiness, or were there other factors? Perhaps Cicada was testing not just intellectual ability, but also a certain ruthlessness, a willingness to compete rather than cooperate. Or perhaps the rejection was itself part of the test, a way to see how individuals would respond to failure and whether they would persevere or give up. Another solver, known by the online handle Tech, also made it through the 2012 puzzle. Tech coordinated a team of 9 active participants and several additional helpers. Together, they navigated the layers of the puzzle, sharing workload, insights, and discoveries. When GPS coordinates were revealed, Tech sent his brother, who lived in Australia, to one of the locations near Sydney to verify that the physical poster actually existed. It did, and his brother retrieved it, photographed it, and sent images back to the team. This confirmation was thrilling. The puzzle was not just a digital game, but had a tangible, real-world presence. Tech and his team eventually reached the final stage and received the welcome message. They were told that the group was decentralized, organized into cells or broods, each working on different projects. The recruits were designated as Brood B0H, a designation that suggested a hierarchical or modular structure. They were tasked with creating tools to protect whistleblowers and activists, specifically software that would allow secure, anonymous communication in hostile environments. The timing of this recruitment was significant. Chelsea Manning's trial was ongoing, and the world was becoming increasingly aware of the dangers faced by those who expose government and corporate wrongdoing. On January 4, 2014, Cicada 301 returned once more. The third puzzle was announced with a cryptic tweet from a Twitter account associated with the group. The tweet contained a link to an image, and solvers immediately began the process of extracting hidden data, decrypting ciphers, and following the trail. The 2014 puzzle was the most elaborate yet, incorporating all the elements of the previous puzzles but adding even more layers of complexity and obscurity. There were riddles written in Latin, the language of ancient Rome and the Catholic Church, used for centuries as the lingua franca of European scholarship. There were clues hidden in obscure medieval manuscripts, texts that required knowledge of history, theology, and paleography to understand. There were challenges that required solvers to understand the works of William Blake, the English poet, painter, and printmaker, known for his visionary art and mystical writings. William Blake lived from 1757 to 1827 and created some of the most iconic works of the Romantic era. His illuminated books such as Songs of Innocence and of Experience and The Marriage of Heaven and Hell combined poetry, illustration, and philosophy in ways that were revolutionary for their time. Blake saw himself as a prophet and visionary, someone who could perceive spiritual truths hidden from ordinary sight. He rejected the rationalism and materialism of the Enlightenment, arguing that imagination and spiritual insight were the highest forms of knowledge. Blake's influence on Cicada 3301 is evident in the philosophical tone of Liber Primus, and in the emphasis on seeking truth beyond surface appearances. Blake famously wrote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite." This idea, that reality is far richer and more mysterious than our limited perceptions suggest, resonates throughout the Cicada puzzles. Solvers were constantly being asked to look deeper, to see beyond the obvious, to find hidden layers of meaning. The 2014 puzzle also made extensive use of Liber Primus. Solvers were expected to have decrypted portions of the book to progress through certain stages. This created a challenging feedback loop, where solving the puzzle required understanding the book, and understanding the book required solving the puzzle. It meant that those who had not participated in the previous year's puzzles, or who had not kept up with the community's progress in decrypting Liber Primus, were at a significant disadvantage. One of the most challenging aspects of the 2014 puzzle was the use of magic squares based on prime numbers. A magic square is a grid of numbers where the sums of the rows, columns, and diagonals are all equal. Magic squares have fascinated mathematicians and mystics for thousands of years. They appear in Chinese mathematics dating back to ancient times, in Islamic art and architecture, and in European Renaissance texts. The German artist Albrecht Dürer included a magic square in his famous engraving Melancholia Thersan, created in 1514. The square in Dürer's work is notable because the two middle cells of the bottom row contain the numbers 15 and 14, marking the year the engraving was made. Cicada's magic squares were constructed using prime numbers and had specific mathematical properties. Solvers were instructed to generate magic squares with dimensions determined by the numbers 1033 and 3301, the reversed and original forms of Cicada's identifying prime. These magic squares then served as keys for further encryption, with their values used as seeds for pseudo-random number generators or as inputs to hash functions. The level of mathematical sophistication required had increased dramatically from the first puzzle. This was no longer a challenge that a casual enthusiast could solve. It required expertise in number theory, cryptography, abstract algebra, and computational methods. The 2014 puzzle also featured more physical components. Once again, posters appeared at GPS coordinates around the world, but this time, some of the posters were placed in extremely difficult-to-reach locations. One was reportedly on a remote hiking trail, requiring physical fitness and determination to retrieve. Another was in a location that required permission or special access. This escalation suggested that Cicada 3301 was not just testing intellectual ability, but also physical determination, resourcefulness, and a willingness to go beyond the comfort and safety of a computer screen. This could imply a philosophy that values action as well as thought, deeds as well as knowledge. The final stages of the 2014 puzzle led solvers to a Tor-hidden service, where they were required to upload files demonstrating their solutions. The site was designed to accept only specific file formats and would reject any submission that did not meet its exact criteria. This created a bottleneck, a final filter to ensure that only the most capable solvers would proceed. The submission process was also time-limited, adding pressure and testing the ability to work under deadline constraints. And then once again, those who succeeded were welcomed and vanished into silence. After January 2014, Cicada 3301 posted a few brief messages in subsequent years, acknowledging anniversaries of the original puzzle and denying the authenticity of various hoaxes and imitations. In January 2015, no new puzzle appeared, breaking the annual tradition. Speculation ran rampant. Had Cicada concluded its recruitment? Had the organization disbanded? Had they achieved their goals? In January 2016, a new message appeared on the Cicada Twitter account. It was brief and cryptic, hinting at new activity but providing no new puzzles. The message generated excitement and drew solvers back to old clues, hoping to find connections they had missed, but nothing substantial materialized. In April 2017, a final PGP-signed message was posted. It was not a puzzle but a statement. It warned against imitations and fakes, reaffirming that only messages signed with the original PGP key were authentic. Since then, silence. Cicada 3301 has not posted any verified messages, and no new full-scale puzzles have appeared. This silence has been as enigmatic as the puzzles themselves. Based on what we know, we can assume that Cicada 3301 achieved its goal. It recruited the individuals it was seeking. It tested them, vetted them, and brought them into whatever organization or collective it represents. The fact that no new puzzles have appeared could imply that the recruitment phase is over, that Cicada has all the people it needs for whatever projects or missions it is pursuing. Alternatively, it could suggest that the next phase of Cicada's operations does not require public puzzles, that the work is now happening entirely in the shadows, visible only to those who have been initiated. Or, more speculatively, it could mean that the project concluded, its objectives fulfilled, or its organizers disbanded. Perhaps the tools they set out to create has been completed and deployed. Perhaps the organization achieved its goals and dissolved. Perhaps internal disagreements fractured the group. We cannot know with certainty. What we do know is that Cicada 3301 succeeded in creating one of the most intricate, multidisciplinary, and captivating mysteries the internet has ever seen. Who or what is Cicada 3301? This question has spawned countless theories, each with its own supporting evidence and logical gaps. The speculation ranges from the plausible to the fantastical, from government agencies to extraterrestrial intelligence. Let us examine the major theories systematically, weighing the evidence for each. The most prominent and widely discussed theory is that Cicada 3301 is a recruitment tool for an intelligence agency. The NSA, CIA, GCHQ, or MI6 have all been suggested as potential sponsors. Intelligence agencies have a long and well-documented history of using puzzles and challenges to identify talented individuals who might be suitable for recruitment. The NSA, America's Signals Intelligence Agency, famously recruits mathematicians and cryptographers through academic competitions and partnerships with universities. They sponsor research, offer scholarships, and attend conferences where the best and brightest in cryptography gather. The CIA has experimented with alternate reality games and puzzle challenges as part of its recruitment efforts. In 2014, the CIA launched a series of puzzles and cryptographic challenges on social media platforms, testing potential recruits' ability to think creatively and solve complex problems under pressure. GCHQ, the British Signals Intelligence Agency, has also used public puzzles for recruitment, including a famous challenge in 2011 that appeared on billboards and websites, directing solvers to a hidden recruitment page. The use of advanced cryptography, the emphasis on privacy and security, the global scale of the operation, and the sophisticated operational security all point toward an organization with significant resources and expertise. These are hallmarks of intelligence agencies. However, there is a major flaw in this theory. No confirmed Cicada solver has ever been publicly identified as subsequently joining an intelligence agency. Marcus Warner and Joel Eriksson, two of the most prominent solvers who have spoken publicly, reported being invited to work on privacy-focused software projects, not to join government organizations. If Cicada were an intelligence agency recruitment tool, one would expect at least some solvers to eventually surface in those roles, even if years later. The complete lack of such evidence suggests that if Cicada is a recruitment tool, it is not for a traditional intelligence agency, at least not in the way we typically understand such recruitment. Moreover, the philosophy expressed in Liber Primus and in the communications with recruited solvers emphasizes privacy, encryption, and resistance to surveillance. These values are, in many ways, antithetical to the mission of intelligence agencies, which exist precisely to conduct surveillance, gather information, and monitor potential threats. It seems unlikely that an agency like the NSA, which was revealed to be conducting mass surveillance on a global scale, would recruit using a puzzle that celebrates encryption and privacy as sacred values. This contradiction does not entirely rule out the intelligence agency theory, but it does raise serious questions about its plausibility. Another theory is that Cicada 3301 is a secret society, perhaps inspired by historical groups like the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, or the Illuminati. Secret societies have existed for centuries, often claiming to possess hidden knowledge or esoteric wisdom. They typically have structured initiation processes, degrees of advancement, and strict requirements for secrecy among members. The use of esoteric symbolism throughout the Cicada puzzles, references to alchemy, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and mysticism, and the structured initiation process all align with the traditions of secret societies. Liber Primus reads, in many ways, like a sacred text, outlining core beliefs and principles that initiates are expected to internalize. The emphasis on secrecy, the apparent hierarchical structure with decentralized cells or broods, and the focus on enlightenment through knowledge all fit the profile of a mystery school or esoteric order. Secret societies often see themselves as guardians of hidden truths, protectors of ancient wisdom that the uninitiated masses are not ready to receive. This elitist perspective is evident in Cicada's message, "We want the best, not the followers," which suggests a worldview where only a select few are capable of true understanding. However, this theory is difficult to prove or disprove. Secret societies, by definition, do not advertise their existence or membership. If Cicada 3301 is a modern secret society, it has succeeded in maintaining the very secrecy it values so highly. We have no way to verify the organization's activities, structure, or goals. The recruited solvers who have spoken publicly have provided only limited information, and many have respected the group's desire for confidentiality. Without concrete evidence, the secret society theory remains speculative, though it is one of the more compelling explanations for Cicada's behavior and philosophy. A third theory, and perhaps the most plausible, is that Cicada 3301 is a libertarian or cypherpunk collective. The cypherpunk movement emerged in the late 1980s and early 1990s as a response to growing concerns about digital privacy and government surveillance. Cypherpunks advocate for the widespread use of cryptography to protect privacy and individual freedom. They believe that in the digital age, privacy is not just a right, but a necessity, and that strong encryption is the only way to prevent authoritarian surveillance and control. The Cypherpunk Manifesto, written by Eric Hughes in 1993, begins, "Privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. Privacy is not secrecy. A private matter is something one doesn't want the whole world to know, but a secret matter is something one doesn't want anybody to know. Privacy is the power to selectively reveal oneself to the world." This philosophy is echoed throughout Cicada's communications and in the pages of Liber Primus. The emphasis on encryption, the use of PGP signing, the operation on the Tor network, and the focus on protecting whistleblowers and activists all align perfectly with cypherpunk ideals. Many of the early pioneers of cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin's pseudonymous creator Satoshi Nakamoto, were influenced by cypherpunk philosophy. The cypherpunk mailing list, active from the 1990s through the early 2000s, was a gathering place for some of the most important thinkers in cryptography, computer science, and digital freedom. Figures like Hal Finney, Nick Szabo, and Adam Back, all of whom would later play roles in the development of Bitcoin and blockchain technology, were active participants in cypherpunk discussions. The values expressed in Liber Primus, the emphasis on encryption and privacy as sacred, and the timing of the puzzles during a period of heightened awareness of government surveillance, all support the idea that Cicada 3301 is aligned with cypherpunk ideals. The fact that recruited solvers were asked to work on privacy-protecting software, specifically tools to help whistleblowers and activists communicate securely, further strengthens this theory. Based on what we know, we can assume that if Cicada 3301 is indeed a cypherpunk collective, its goal was to identify and recruit talented individuals who could contribute to the development of tools that protect digital freedom and resist mass surveillance. This theory also explains why Cicada might have gone silent after 2014. If the organization's primary goal was to recruit a team to develop specific privacy tools, and if that team was successfully assembled and the tools completed, there would be no need for further public puzzles. The work would continue in private, with the recruited individuals contributing to projects that remain hidden from public view. This interpretation is consistent with the decentralized cell-based structure described by recruits, where different groups work on different projects without necessarily knowing what the others are doing. Yet another theory is that Cicada 3301 is an elaborate alternate reality game, or ARG, created purely for entertainment or artistic purposes. ARGs are interactive narratives that blend real-world and digital elements, often involving puzzles, mystery, and community collaboration. They have been used to promote movies, video games, television shows, and books, creating immersive experiences that engage audiences in ways traditional marketing cannot. The most famous example of an ARG is The Beast, created in 2001 to promote Steven Spielberg's film AI Artificial Intelligence. The beast involved hundreds of websites, phone numbers, fax numbers, and real-world events, creating a sprawling mystery that attracted hundreds of thousands of participants. Other notable ARGs include I Love Bees, which promoted the video game Halo 2, and Why So Serious, which promoted the film The Dark Knight. These games demonstrated that audiences were hungry for interactive, participatory storytelling that broke down the barriers between fiction and reality. If Cicada 3301 is an ARG, it is one of the most sophisticated and ambitious ever created. However, most ARGs have a clear endpoint, a reveal where the creators are acknowledged, or a commercial purpose where the game is tied to a product or brand. Cicada 3301 has none of these. There has been no product launch, no movie tie-in, no book deal, no grand reveal of the creators' identities. The puzzles ended without resolution, and the organization faded into silence without claiming credit or explaining its purpose. This could imply that if Cicada is an ARG, it is one designed purely for art, for the sake of the mystery itself, with no commercial motivation. Some have compared it to the works of conceptual artists or avant-garde collectives who create experiences that challenge conventional notions of art, authorship, and audience. In this interpretation, Cicada 3301 is a performance piece, a work of digital art that exists at the intersection of cryptography, philosophy, and storytelling. The mystery itself is the art, and any attempt to resolve it or explain it would diminish its power. There is also a darker theory, one proposed by some skeptics and security researchers. This theory suggests that Cicada 3301 is a front for a malicious organization, perhaps a cybercrime syndicate, a hacking collective with nefarious intentions, or even a cult-like group seeking to manipulate vulnerable individuals. The logic here is that by recruiting highly skilled cryptographers and programmers under the guise of a noble cause, Cicada could be assembling a team for illegal activities such as cyber attacks, identity theft, or financial fraud. However, this theory is the least supported by available evidence. All of Cicada's communications have emphasized ethical principles, privacy, freedom, and the protection of knowledge. The philosophical passages in Liber Primus speak of enlightenment, self-determination, and resistance to oppression. There have been no reports of recruited individuals being coerced, manipulated, or pressured into illegal activities. Marcus Wanner, who was recruited and later spoke publicly, described the experience as positive, if mysterious and confusing. He was asked to contribute to projects that aligned with his own values, specifically tools to protect privacy and secure communication. When he chose to step away from the project after the forum was shut down, there were no repercussions, no threats, no attempts to force him to continue. This does not fit the profile of a criminal organization or a cult, which typically employ manipulation, coercion, and punishment to maintain control over members. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Cicada mystery is the consistency and authenticity of its communications. Every message from Cicada 3301 has been signed with the same PGP key, a key that was generated at the beginning of the 2012 puzzle and has never been compromised or replaced. This level of operational security is itself remarkable. In the years since the puzzles began, numerous hoaxes and imitations have appeared, claiming to be the next Cicada puzzle or new messages from the organization. Each time, these hoaxes have been quickly debunked by the community because they lacked the proper PGP signature. The use of PGP is not just about authenticity. It is a statement of values and a demonstration of technical competence. By cryptographically signing every message, Cicada is showing that it practices what it preaches, that it values trust and verification in digital communication, and that it understands the importance of maintaining secure channels in a hostile environment. The fact that the PGP key has never been compromised, despite years of scrutiny and attempts by curious hackers to break into Cicada's systems, suggests that the organization takes security very seriously and has the expertise to protect itself. The global scope of the puzzles is another element that sets Cicada 3301 apart from typical internet mysteries. The GPS coordinates spanned multiple continents, with physical posters placed in cities as diverse as Warsaw, Seoul, Sydney, Miami, Paris, Dallas, Moscow, and Okinawa. This required either a large internationally distributed team or a very dedicated small group with significant resources and the ability to coordinate across time zones, languages, and legal jurisdictions. The logistics alone are staggering. To place physical items at precise coordinates in cities around the world, often in public spaces with heavy foot traffic or surveillance, without detection or interference, suggests a level of planning and execution that goes far beyond a casual project. This could imply that Cicada 3301 is backed by an organization with global reach and financial resources. Whether that organization is a government agency, a multinational corporation, a well-funded private collective, or something else entirely remains unknown. The coordination required to place posters in 14 different countries simultaneously suggest either a pre-existing network of operatives or the ability to recruit local participants in each location. This level of organization is more consistent with an established entity than with a group of individuals operating independently. The puzzles themselves are works of art. They are not just challenges designed to test intellectual ability, but carefully crafted narratives, journeys that take solvers through the history of cryptography, the philosophy of privacy, the symbolism of ancient traditions, and the intersection of technology and mysticism. Each layer of the puzzle is both a barrier and a lesson. The use of steganography teaches that what is visible on the surface is not always all there is, that hidden depths lie beneath everyday appearances. The book ciphers require solvers to engage with classical literature, to read texts by Alistair Crowley, William Blake, and medieval Welsh authors, expanding their cultural and intellectual horizons. The runic alphabet, the gematria primus, forces solvers to learn an entirely new system of writing and thought, to understand the connections between letters, numbers, and meanings. The magic squares connect mathematics to mysticism, showing that numbers can be arranged in patterns that have both practical and symbolic significance. The GPS coordinates bridge the digital and physical worlds, demonstrating that mysteries are not confined to screens and keyboards, but extend into the tangible reality of streets, poles, and paper. Every element of the Cicada puzzle serves multiple purposes. It filters out those who lack the necessary knowledge or determination. It educates those who persist, teaching them skills and concepts they might not have encountered otherwise. And it creates a shared experience, a collective journey that bonds solvers together, even though most of them never meet in person. The community that formed around Cicada 3301 is a testament to the power of mystery to bring people together, to inspire collaboration and mutual support in the pursuit of understanding. Liber Primus, the runic book, remains one of the most tantalizing unsolved aspects of Cicada 3301. Of its 74 pages, only about 19 have been fully or partially decrypted, despite years of concentrated effort by dedicated solvers, professional cryptanalysts, and academics. The solved pages contain philosophical passages, cryptographic instructions, historical references, and texts that read like sacred scripture or hermetic wisdom. One passage reads, "An instruction, command your own self. A woeful arbour binds the people. The people know their woe, but they have set their hearts on an image. The people have become fond of their torment. Many of them know not that they are enchained. Command your own self." This passage reflects themes of self-determination, awareness, and freedom from illusion. It echoes Gnostic ideas about enlightenment through knowledge, the concept that most people live in a state of ignorance or delusion, mistaking shadows for reality, and that liberation comes through gnosis, secret knowledge that reveals the true nature of existence. The language is deliberately archaic and poetic, reminiscent of religious texts or philosophical treatises from earlier centuries. This stylistic choice suggests that Cicada views its message as timeless, as part of a long tradition of esoteric wisdom that extends back through centuries of human history. Another solved passage discusses the totient function, Euler's phi function, and its relationship to encryption and number theory. The passage explains that the totient of a prime number is always one less than the prime itself, because every number less than a prime is coprime to it. This is a fundamental property that underlies much of modern cryptography. The passage continues, "Epiphany is a moment of sudden revelation. The path lies empty, epiphany seeks the devoted. Liber primus is the way. Its words are the map, their meaning is the road, and their numbers are the direction." This suggests that the book is not just a text to be read passively, but an active puzzle to be solved, a map to a deeper understanding, a guide on a journey of enlightenment. The metaphor of the path, the road, and the direction implies that solving Liber Primus is a process, a journey, rather than a destination, and that the act of solving itself is transformative. The unsolved pages of Liber Primus likely contain further instructions, perhaps even the key to understanding Cicada's ultimate purpose or the next phase of the organization's activities, if such a phase exists. Cryptanalysts have tried numerous approaches to solve the remaining pages: frequency analysis, examining how often certain runes appear, and comparing those frequencies to known languages; pattern matching, looking for repeated sequences or structures that might indicate specific encoding methods; known plaintext attacks, attempting to use the already decrypted pages as a basis for understanding the rest; brute force methods systematically trying different keys and decryption algorithms. Yet the remaining pages have resisted all these efforts. Some believe the unsolved pages require a specific key or piece of information that has not yet been discovered, perhaps hidden in earlier stages of the puzzles or in messages that were only sent to successful solvers who reached the inner sanctum. Others believe the pages may be solvable with sufficient mathematical insight and computational power, that the cipher is complex but not impossible, and that it simply requires the right combination of knowledge and persistence. Still others speculate that the unsolved portions may not be encrypted at all in a traditional sense, but may be written in a different symbolic system, a constructed language or philosophical code that has yet to be identified. The fact that Cicada has not provided additional hints or keys since 2017 suggests that either the book is meant to remain partially unsolved, a perpetual mystery, or that the information necessary to solve it has already been provided, and solvers simply have not yet made the necessary breakthrough. The community that formed around solving Cicada 3301 is a testament to the power of collective intelligence. Solvers from around the world, spanning dozens of countries and speaking numerous languages, collaborated through forums, subreddits, chat rooms, and private messaging. They shared insights, tools, discoveries, and encouragement. People with expertise in different fields brought their unique knowledge to bear on the puzzles. Linguists analysed ancient texts and translated Latin passages. Mathematicians worked on number theory problems and magic squares. Programmers wrote scripts to automate parts of the solving process and built tools to analyse images and extract hidden data. Historians provided context on esoteric traditions and occult symbolism. This collaborative spirit is one of the most beautiful aspects of the Cicada story. It demonstrates that even the most difficult challenges can be overcome when people work together, united by curiosity and the desire to understand. The Cicada community exemplifies the best of internet culture, showing that online spaces can foster genuine collaboration, mutual respect, and collective achievement, not just conflict and division. Joel Eriksson, the Swedish programmer and security consultant who nearly solved the 2012 puzzle, made it to the final stages but was ultimately told he was too slow. The final message he received on the tour site read, "We want the best, not the followers." This harsh dismissal was disappointing and painful, but it also reinforced the competitive nature of the puzzle and the high standards that Cicada demanded. The organisation was not interested in everyone who tried, or even everyone who succeeded in solving most of the puzzle. It was interested only in the very best, those who could solve the puzzles quickly, independently, and with minimal collaboration. This raises questions about Cicada's criteria and philosophy. Was speed the only measure of worthiness? Or were there other factors being evaluated? Perhaps Cicada was testing not just intellectual ability, but also a certain competitive drive, a willingness to work alone rather than rely on others. Or perhaps the rejection was itself part of the test, a way to see how individuals would respond to failure and whether they would persevere or give up. Eriksson later reflected on the experience, describing it as both exhilarating and frustrating. He had devoted days to the puzzle, navigating its layers with skill and determination, solving complex ciphers and tracking down obscure references, only to be turned away at the end because he was not fast enough. Marcus Wanner, the American student who successfully completed the 2013 puzzle, provided some of the most detailed public accounts of what happened after being welcomed. He received the acceptance message and was directed to a private forum on the darknet. There, he and other successful solvers were questioned extensively about their beliefs, their values, and their motivations. The questions were not superficial but deep and probing, designed to assess whether the solver's philosophies aligned with those of Cicada 3301. Wanner reported that he was asked about his views on government surveillance, on mass data collection, on the responsibility of individuals to protect their own privacy, and on the role of technology in either empowering or oppressing people. He was asked about his understanding of cryptography, not just the technical mechanics, but the ethical and political implications. He was asked what he would be willing to do to protect privacy and freedom, what risks he would take, what sacrifices he would make. His answers apparently satisfied the questioners, because he was invited to participate in projects aligned with Cicada's ideology. One of these projects was described as CAKES, the Cicada Anonymous Key Escrow System. The concept was to create a cryptographic tool that would allow whistleblowers, journalists, and activists to communicate securely without fear of surveillance, interception, or retaliation. This system would use advanced encryption and key management techniques to ensure that even if one party's system was compromised by attackers or law enforcement, the communications would remain protected. This was during the period when Chelsea Manning was facing trial for leaking hundreds of thousands of classified documents to WikiLeaks, exposing war crimes and diplomatic misconduct. It was also just months before Edward Snowden would reveal the extent of the NSA's mass surveillance programs, shocking the world and igniting debates about privacy, security, and government overreach. The timing of Cicada's recruitment and the nature of the projects they proposed was not coincidental. This was a moment when the need for strong privacy tools was becoming painfully apparent, when whistleblowers were being prosecuted with unprecedented severity, and when the general public was beginning to wake up to the reality of mass surveillance. Cicada 3301 positioned itself as part of the resistance, as a force working to protect individuals from the growing power of the surveillance state. Warner described the experience as surreal and disorienting. He was interacting with an anonymous organization through encrypted channels, communicating with people he could only identify by pseudonyms or PGP key fingerprints. He was working on software to protect privacy, collaborating with others on technical challenges, all while having no idea who these people really were, where they were located, or what the larger organizational structure looked like. At one point, the forum was abruptly shut down without explanation, and Warner received no further communication from Cicada. He was left with more questions than answers, with fragments of understanding but no complete picture. Eventually, Warner chose to speak publicly about his experience. He gave interviews to journalists, appeared in documentaries, and posted detailed accounts on forums and social media. His decision to break the silence was controversial among other Cicada participants, many of whom felt that discretion was a core value that should be respected. But Warner felt that the public deserved to know something about what Cicada was, that the mystery had grown so large and attracted so much speculation that providing some factual information was a service. He was careful not to reveal anything that might compromise the security of others or violate trust in ways that could cause harm. His account provided valuable insights, but also deepened the enigma, because it raised as many questions as it answered. Another solver, known by the online handle Tick, coordinated a team of 9 active participants and several additional helpers who contributed sporadically. Together, they navigated the layers of the 2012 puzzle, sharing the workload and pooling their expertise. When the GPS coordinates were revealed, Tech sent his brother, who lived in Australia, to one of the Sydney locations to verify that the physical poster actually existed. The brother found the poster exactly where the coordinates indicated, photographed it, scanned the QR code, and sent the resulting images and data back to the team. This confirmation was thrilling. The puzzle was not just a digital game confined to websites and image files. It had a tangible, physical presence in the real world. Tech and his team eventually reached a final stage and received the welcome message. They were told that Cicada 3301 was decentralized, organized into cells or broods, each working on different projects independently. The recruits were designated as Brood B Dorach, a label that suggested both a hierarchical structure and a modular organization where different units could operate without necessarily knowing what the others were doing. This structure is common in clandestine organizations, resistance movements, and intelligence agencies, where compartmentalization ensures that if one cell is compromised, the rest of the organization remains safe. They were tasked with creating tools to protect whistleblowers and activists, specifically software that would allow secure, anonymous communication in hostile environments, where governments or corporations might be actively monitoring and suppressing dissent. The timing of this recruitment, coinciding with the Chelsea Manning trial and preceding the Snowden revelations by only months, underscores the urgency and relevance of the work Cicada was proposing. These were not abstract intellectual exercises, but practical tools designed to address real-world threats to privacy and freedom. The symbolism of the cicada is worth exploring in greater depth. Cicadas are insects belonging to the order Hemiptera. Known for their long life cycles and distinctive behaviours, many species spend years, sometimes as many as 17, underground as nymphs, feeding on the sap of tree roots and developing slowly in the darkness. Then, in a precisely timed event that scientists still don't fully understand, they emerge en masse in synchronized swarms that can number in the millions or even billions. The noise of their collective song, produced by males vibrating specialized organs called tymbals, can be deafening, reaching over 100 decibels. They mate, lay eggs, and die within weeks, and the cycle begins again. This cycle of hidden development followed by sudden, overwhelming emergence mirrors the structure and strategy of the Cicada 3301 puzzles. The organization presumably spent months or years planning and preparing the first puzzle, working in secrecy to create the layers of encryption, to design the gematria primus, to coordinate the placement of physical materials around the world. Then, on January 4th, 2012, they emerged suddenly and spectacularly, posting the first image to 4chan and setting in motion a cascade of activity that drew in thousands of participants. They created a swarm of intellectual energy, a collective effort focused on solving their mystery. And then, after recruiting those they sought, they disappeared back into silence, returning to the hidden realm from which they'd emerged. The choice of the cicada as a symbol also suggests patience, strategic timing, and the power of coordinated action. Cicadas do not emerge randomly or individually. They wait, they prepare, and when the moment is right, they act in concert, creating an effect far greater than any individual could achieve. This is perhaps a metaphor for Cicada 3301's own philosophy, the belief that change requires preparation, that timing matters, and that collective action is more powerful than individual effort. Cicadas also molt, shedding their exoskeletons as they transition from nymphs living underground to adults capable of flight. This metamorphosis is a powerful symbol of transformation, enlightenment, and rebirth, themes that appear repeatedly in esoteric and mystical traditions. The solvers of Cicada 3301, in a sense, underwent their own metamorphosis. They entered the puzzle as curious individuals, motivated by the challenge and the mystery. Through the process of solving, they acquired new knowledge, new skills, and new perspectives. They emerged transformed, having shed their old understanding and adopted a new awareness of cryptography, privacy, philosophy, and the hidden layers of reality. The cicada's life cycle is also mathematically significant. The most well-known periodical cicadas in North America, such as Magicicada septendecim and Magicicada tredecim, emerge every 17 and 13 years respectively. Both of these are prime numbers. Scientists believe this prime-numbered cycle is an evolutionary strategy designed to avoid synchronizing with predator populations, which typically follow more predictable non-prime cycles. By emerging in prime-numbered intervals, cicadas reduce the likelihood that predators will be abundant when they appear. This connection between cicadas and prime numbers reinforces the mathematical and cryptographic themes that run throughout the Cicada 3301 puzzles, where primes are treated as sacred and foundational. The use of classical and esoteric references throughout the puzzles adds profound layers of meaning and demonstrates the breadth of knowledge that Cicada values. William Blake, the English poet and artist mentioned in the 2014 puzzle, was a visionary and mystic who saw the world in symbolic and spiritual terms. His works explore themes of innocence and experience, freedom and oppression, the material and the spiritual. One of his most famous works is The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, a text that challenges conventional morality and celebrates the union of opposites, arguing that without contraries there is no progression. Blake believed that energy and imagination were divine, that reason alone was insufficient for understanding truth, and that true perception required cleansing the doors of perception to see the infinite in all things. Blake's influence on Cicada is evident in the philosophical tone of Liber Primus, in the emphasis on seeking truth beyond surface appearances, and in the idea that enlightenment comes through expanding one's perception and understanding. The passages in Liber Primus that speak of people being enchained, of commanding one's own self, of epiphany and revelation, all echo Blake's themes of liberation through vision and the rejection of imposed authority and false idols. Aleister Crowley, whose Book of the Law was used as a cipher key in the first puzzle, is another major influence. Crowley was a controversial and polarizing figure, often dismissed as a charlatan or celebrated as a pioneering occultist depending on one's perspective. Regardless of one's opinion of Crowley as a person, his writings on willpower, self-determination, and the pursuit of one's true will align closely with the themes expressed by Cicada. The central tenet of Thelema, Crowley's religious and philosophical system, is "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." This phrase is often misunderstood. It does not mean do whatever you want in a hedonistic or selfish sense. Rather, it expresses the idea that every individual has a true will, a unique purpose or calling that is their authentic nature, and that the highest moral imperative is to discover and fulfill that will without compromise. Love is the law. Love under will means that love, properly understood, is the force that aligns one with one's true will, not sentimental attachment, possessiveness, or selfish desire, but a profound connection to one's authentic purpose. This could imply that Cicada 3301 views its mission as empowering individuals to take control of their own destinies, to break free from societal constraints, imposed identities, and external control. The puzzles themselves are a form of initiation, a way of testing whether individuals have the will, the determination, and the clarity of purpose to pursue truth relentlessly. Those who succeed have demonstrated that they possess qualities Cicada values: intelligence, creativity, perseverance, and autonomy. The references to Hermeticism and Gnosticism further deepen the philosophical underpinnings of Cicada 3301. Hermeticism is a tradition based on writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure who was a syncretic combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Hermetic texts, which include works like the Corpus Hermeticum and the Emerald Tablet, emphasize the idea of hidden knowledge, the unity of all things, and the principle, as above, so below, meaning that the macrocosm and microcosm reflect each other, that patterns repeat at every scale of existence. Hermeticism teaches that understanding the universe requires understanding oneself, that the same principles governing the cosmos also govern the human soul. This holistic, interconnected view of reality is reflected in the structure of the Cicada puzzles, where mathematics, philosophy, art, literature, and mysticism are not separate domains but interwoven aspects of a unified whole. Gnosticism is a religious and philosophical movement that emerged in the early centuries of the Common Era, teaching that salvation comes through secret knowledge, gnosis, rather than through faith, ritual, or good works. Gnostics believed that the material world is a flawed or even malevolent creation, a prison for divine sparks of consciousness, and that true enlightenment comes from understanding the deeper, hidden reality beyond the material illusion. Different Gnostic sects had different cosmologies and mythologies, but they shared the belief that most people live in ignorance, mistaking shadows for reality, and that liberation requires awakening to one's true nature. The language and imagery in Liber Primus echo these Gnostic ideas. The passages about people being enchained, about setting their hearts on an image, about being fond of their torment, all suggest that Cicada views the majority of humanity as living in a state of illusion, accepting surveillance, control, and oppression as normal and inevitable. The path to freedom, in Cicada's view, requires breaking these mental chains, rejecting false authorities, and embracing encryption, privacy, and self-determination as sacred values. This is a radical, even revolutionary philosophy, one that challenges the foundations of contemporary society. The technological sophistication of the puzzles cannot be overstated. The use of steganography with outguess and other tools, the creation of a custom runic cipher with mathematical properties, the integration of cryptographic signing with PGP to ensure authenticity, the deployment of Tor hidden services to protect anonymity, the coordination of global GPS locations requiring precise placement of physical materials, all of these elements require a high level of technical skill, planning, and operational security. This suggests that whoever created Cicada 3301 has deep expertise in computer science, cryptography, information security, and project management. It also suggests access to resources. Hosting Tor sites requires maintaining servers and ensuring they remain online and secure. Creating and maintaining websites, even simple ones, requires domain registration, hosting fees, and technical maintenance. Placing physical items in cities around the world requires either travel, which is expensive and time-consuming, or a network of collaborators who can be trusted to execute tasks precisely and discreetly. All of this requires time, money, and coordination. Based on what we know, we can assume that Cicada 3301 is not the work of a single individual working alone, but of a team, possibly a small but highly skilled and well-funded group, with members or collaborators in multiple countries. The puzzles also demonstrate a deep understanding of human psychology. The structure of the challenges, starting with relatively simple tasks that attract a large number of participants, and gradually increasing in difficulty to filter the field, is a classic funnel design. Early stages are accessible enough that many people can succeed, creating excitement and momentum. As the difficulty increases, the number of active solvers decreases, naturally selecting for those with greater knowledge, skill, and determination. The final stages are so difficult that only a tiny fraction of the initial participants reach them, ensuring that those who are ultimately welcomed are truly exceptional. The psychological aspect extends beyond difficulty curves to the use of mystery and secrecy themselves. Humans are naturally curious creatures. We're drawn to puzzles, to the unknown, to the challenge of solving what others cannot. Mystery creates engagement, investment, and emotional connection. By cloaking itself in mystery, by revealing just enough to be tantalizing, but not enough to be fully understood, Cicada 3301 tapped into fundamental aspects of human nature, ensuring that its puzzles would captivate the imagination of thousands, and that the story would be told and retold, analysed and speculated about for years to come. The impact of Cicada 3301 on internet culture has been profound and lasting. It has inspired countless articles, blog posts, videos, documentaries, podcasts, academic papers, and discussions. It has become a symbol of the internet's potential for mystery, wonder, and intellectual challenge. In an age where so much information is readily available, where search engines can answer almost any factual question in seconds, where Wikipedia contains articles on virtually every topic, Cicada 3301 reminds us that there are still secrets, still things that are hidden, still challenges that require real effort, intelligence, and persistence to overcome. It has also inspired a new generation of puzzle creators and mystery designers. Many have attempted to create their own Cicada-style challenges, though none have achieved the same level of complexity, scale, or cultural impact. Cicada 3301 set a standard, a benchmark against which all other internet mysteries are measured. It showed what is possible when creativity, technical skill, and philosophical depth are combined in service of creating an immersive, transformative experience. The silence since 2014 has only deepened the mystery and intensified the speculation. Why did Cicada stop posting new puzzles? The most straightforward explanation is that the recruitment was successful, that Cicada found the people it was looking for, brought them into the fold, assembled the team it needed, and no longer required public puzzles to identify additional candidates. This interpretation is supported by the statements of recruited solvers like Marcus Wanner, who reported being given specific tasks and projects to work on. If the goal was to assemble a team of skilled, ideologically aligned individuals to develop privacy tools or pursue other objectives, and if that team has been assembled, then the public phase is complete. Another possibility is that the project concluded that Cicada 3301 had a specific objective or set of objectives, perhaps the development of particular software tools or the execution of a particular campaign, and once those objectives were accomplished, the need for the organization ended. In this interpretation, Cicada was always intended to be temporary, a project with a beginning, middle, and end, and we are now living in the aftermath. Alternatively, it is possible that the organization behind Cicada disbanded due to internal disagreements, external pressures, loss of funding, or simply the passage of time and changing priorities among members. Maintaining a complex international clandestine organization requires constant effort, coordination, and commitment. If key members left, if resources dried up, or if the group fractured over philosophical or strategic differences, the organization might have simply dissolved, leaving only the puzzles as artifacts of what once was. There is also the intriguing possibility that Cicada 3301 is still active, but has moved entirely into the shadows, operating in complete secrecy. The public puzzles may have been only the first phase, a recruitment drive to identify candidates. The real work may be happening now out of the public eye with no need for further publicity or recruitment. This would align with the decentralized cell-based structure described by recruits, where different broods work on different projects independently, without necessarily knowing what the others are doing, or even that the other cells exist. If Cicada is organized this way, then the public face of the organization may no longer be necessary. The work continues, but in silence, invisible to outsiders. This interpretation is both tantalizing and frustrating for those of us who followed the puzzles from the outside. It means that Cicada 3301 may still be out there, pursuing its goals, developing tools, influencing events in ways we cannot see or measure, but we will never know unless it chooses to reveal itself again. The mystery remains open-ended, unresolved, a question mark that hangs over the entire story. The ethical implications of Cicada 3301 are complex and multifaceted. On one hand, the puzzles celebrated intelligence, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge. They brought together a global community of solvers, fostering collaboration and mutual support. They inspired countless individuals to learn about cryptography, mathematics, philosophy, history and literature, expanding their intellectual horizons. In this sense, Cicada 2301 was an educational project, a work of public art, a gift to the internet and to human culture. On the other hand, the secrecy and exclusivity of the project raise important questions. What is Cicada 3301 doing with the individuals it recruits? What are the projects they are working on? Are these projects beneficial to society, or could they have unintended negative consequences? Without transparency, it is impossible to make informed judgments about the ethics of Cicada's activities. The emphasis on privacy and encryption in Liber Primus and in the stated goals of the project is, in principle, a positive value. Privacy is a fundamental human right, recognized in international declarations and constitutions around the world. In the digital age, privacy is under constant threat from governments, corporations, hackers, and malicious actors. Tools that protect privacy and enable secure communication are essential for a free and open society. If Cicada 3301 is working to develop such tools to protect whistleblowers, journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens from surveillance and retaliation, then its mission is noble and important. However, the same tools that protect dissidents from authoritarian regimes can also be used by criminals to hide illegal activities, by terrorists to plan attacks, by child abusers to share horrific content. This is the double-edged nature of privacy technology, the eternal tension between liberty and security, between protecting the innocent and preventing the guilty from escaping justice. It is a tension that Cicada 3301, like any organization working in this space, must navigate carefully. The lack of a clear reveal or conclusion is perhaps the most frustrating aspect of Cicada 3301 for those who followed the puzzles but did not solve them. Humans crave closure. We want to know the answers, to understand the mystery, to see the full picture, and have our questions resolved. Cicada 3301 has denied us that closure. We are left with fragments, with testimonies from a handful of solvers, with partially decrypted texts, with theories and speculation but no definitive answers. This open-ended nature is in a way fitting and perhaps intentional. Cicada 3301 is fundamentally about the journey, not the destination. It is about the process of seeking, the challenge of solving, the transformation that occurs along the way. The mystery itself is the point, the experience of engaging with something that resists easy understanding, that demands effort and thought and growth. To provide a simple answer, to reveal the creators and explain their motives, would in some sense diminish the power of what Cicada created. The mystery is more meaningful, more transformative, because it remains unresolved. What do we know for certain about Cicada 3301? We know that it appeared on 4chan on January 4th, 2012, and ran annual puzzles in 2012, 2013 and 2014, each more complex than the last. We know that the puzzles were extraordinarily sophisticated, requiring knowledge spanning multiple disciplines: steganography, cryptography, classical literature, ancient runes, number theory, philosophy, history, and more. We know that the puzzles included physical components, with posters placed at GPS coordinates in cities around the world, requiring coordination across continents and time zones. We know that successful solvers were invited to private forums on the darknet, where they were questioned about their beliefs, their values and their skills, and asked to work on privacy-focused software projects. We know that all communications from Cicada were cryptographically signed with a consistent PGP key, ensuring authenticity and demonstrating commitment to secure communication. We know that the puzzles emphasized values of privacy, encryption, freedom of information, and the sacredness of knowledge, values aligned with the cypherpunk movement and with traditions of esoteric mysticism. We know that Cicada 3301 has been silent since 2017, with no new puzzles released and no verified communications. We know that Liber Primus, the 74-page runic manuscript, remains mostly unsolved despite years of effort by dedicated cryptanalysts. We know that the mystery has had a lasting impact on internet culture, inspiring countless people to explore cryptography and philosophy. What do we not know? We do not know who created Cicada 3301, their real identities, their locations, their backgrounds. We do not know the full extent of the organization's membership or its internal structure, beyond vague descriptions of decentralized cells. We do not know the specific goals of the projects that recruited solvers were asked to work on, whether those projects were completed, or what impact they may have had. We do not know why Cicada chose to go silent, whether the organization still exists, or whether it will ever return. We do not know the full contents of Liber Primus, as most of the book remains encrypted and unreadable. We do not know if there are hidden layers or phases of the puzzle that have yet to be discovered, waiting for someone with the right insight or information. In short, we know enough to be fascinated, enough to understand the outlines of the story, but not enough to be satisfied. Not enough to close the book and move on. The philosophical implications of Cicada 3301 are profound and far-reaching. It raises fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge, secrecy, power, and freedom. Who has the right to keep secrets in a democratic society? What responsibilities come with possessing hidden knowledge? In a world where information is increasingly centralized and controlled by governments and corporations, where surveillance is ubiquitous and privacy is eroding, is there value in decentralized, anonymous collectives working to preserve individual autonomy? Cicada 3301 suggests that there is value in such efforts, that privacy and encryption are not just technical concerns but moral imperatives, that individuals have not only the right but the duty to protect themselves from surveillance and control. It presents itself as a counterforce to the growing power of the surveillance state, a guardian of the right to privacy, a champion of individual autonomy and freedom of thought. Whether it lives up to that ideal in practice, whether its actions are truly beneficial or potentially harmful, we cannot definitively say without more information. But the mere existence of Cicada 3301 and the values it espouses is challenge to the status quo and an invitation to think critically about the relationship between technology, power, and freedom. Cicada 3301 also raises questions about meritocracy and elitism. The puzzles were explicitly designed to identify and recruit the most intelligent and capable individuals, those who could demonstrate exceptional skills in cryptography, mathematics, logic, and creative problem-solving. This is, in one sense, a pure form of meritocracy, where success is based solely on ability and effort, not on wealth, family connections, social status, or institutional credentials. Anyone with internet access could attempt the puzzles, and anyone who solved them could be welcomed, regardless of their background. However, this meritocratic approach is also inherently elitist. Only a tiny fraction of those who attempted the puzzles were deemed worthy of being welcomed into Cicada's inner circle. The message "we want the best, not the followers" is harsh and exclusionary, dividing the world into those who are good enough and those who are not. This could imply a worldview where only a select few are capable of true understanding, where the masses are seen as followers, sheep, unable or unwilling to seek truth on their own. while a small elite possesses the knowledge and wisdom to guide or protect them. This is a perspective with deep roots in esoteric and mystical traditions, where secret knowledge is reserved for initiates who have proven themselves worthy. But it is also a perspective that can be troubling in a democratic, egalitarian context, where we generally believe that all people have inherent worth and dignity, that knowledge should be accessible to all, and that elitism based on intelligence or any other factor is morally problematic. Cicada's philosophy seems to embrace a form of intellectual aristocracy, and whether one finds this inspiring or troubling likely depends on one's own values and beliefs about human nature and society. The legacy of Cicada 3301 is already secure and will endure for generations. It will be remembered as one of the most elaborate, intriguing and mysterious phenomena of the early 21st century internet, a digital legend, a modern myth. It has become a reference point in discussions of internet culture, cryptography, and unsolved mysteries. Future generations will look back on Cicada 3301 as we look back on ancient enigmas, on the Voynich manuscript with its undeciphered text and strange illustrations, on the Zodiac Killer with his cryptic letters and unsolved ciphers, on Stonehenge with its mysterious purpose and construction. These are mysteries that capture the imagination precisely because they remain unsolved, because they invite endless speculation and interpretation, because they remind us that not everything is known or knowable. In that sense, Cicada 3301 has achieved a kind of immortality. It has become part of the cultural fabric, a story that will be told and retold, analysed and reinterpreted for decades and perhaps centuries to come. For those of us who followed the puzzles, who watched from the sidelines as brilliant minds around the world collaborated to solve them, who read the forum posts and the decryptions and the theories, Cicada 3301 was a reminder of the power of human curiosity and ingenuity. It showed us that even in a world saturated with information, there are still mysteries worth pursuing, challenges worth undertaking, secrets worth seeking. It reminded us that knowledge is not something passively received but actively sought. That understanding comes not from being told but from discovering. This is a lesson that resonates far beyond the specific details of the puzzles themselves. The story of Cicada 3301 is also a story about the internet itself, about its potential and its character. The internet is often portrayed as a place of superficiality, distraction, misinformation, and conflict. But Cicada 3301 shows us another side of the internet, a side where deep collaboration is possible, where people from around the world can come together to tackle extraordinarily difficult challenges, where intellectual rigor and creativity are celebrated and rewarded. The solvers of Cicada 3301 were not motivated by money or fame. They are motivated by curiosity, by the thrill of the chase, by the desire to prove themselves and to be part of something larger. This is the internet at its best, a tool for connection, collaboration, and the pursuit of knowledge. As we sit here in the quiet of this late hour, reflecting on the strange and wondrous journey that was Cicada 3301, we are left with a profound sense of awe. Awe at the complexity and beauty of the puzzles, awe at the dedication and brilliance of the solvers, awe at the mystery that remains hanging in the air like an unanswered question. Cicada 3301 is a reminder that the world is still full of wonders, still full of secrets waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to seek them. It is a reminder that intelligence, creativity, and persistence can unlock doors that seem permanently closed. It is a reminder that there are still communities, still collectives, still organizations out there pursuing goals that we do not fully understand, working toward ends that remain hidden from view. Whether Cicada 3301 was an intelligence agency conducting an unconventional recruitment operation, a secret society preserving ancient wisdom, a cypherpunk collective fighting for digital freedom, an elaborate work of interactive art, or something entirely different that we have not yet imagined, it succeeded in creating something extraordinary. It created a mystery that engaged the minds and hearts of thousands, that spanned the globe and bridged worlds digital and physical. It created a challenge that tested not just knowledge but wisdom, not just intelligence but character, not just skill but determination. It created a narrative that will be studied, debated, admired, and speculated about for years and decades to come. And perhaps most importantly, it created a space, however brief, where those who value privacy, freedom, knowledge, and the pursuit of truth could come together and be part of something larger than themselves. In a world that often feels fragmented, surveilled, and controlled, Cicada 3301 offered a glimpse of something different, a possibility of resistance, of autonomy, of communities that operate according to their own values rather than submitting to external authority. The silence of Cicada 3301 since 2017 is its final lesson, perhaps its most profound. In a world where everything is loud, where everyone is shouting for attention, where every moment is documented and shared and commodified, Cicada chose silence. It said what it needed to say, did what it needed to do, recruited whom it needed to recruit, and then stepped back into the shadows from which it emerged. This restraint, this discipline, this refusal to explain or justify or reveal is as much a part of the mystery as the puzzles themselves. It is a reminder that not everything needs to be explained, that some things are more powerful when they remain hidden, that mystery itself has value in an age that claims to have answers for everything. It is a reminder that wisdom sometimes means knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to reveal and when to conceal, when to engage and when to withdraw. So where does that leave us, here at the Sleepy Computer Scientist, as we drift toward the end of this long and winding journey into the heart of Cicada 3301? It leaves us with wonder. It leaves us with questions that may never be answered. It leaves us with a deeper appreciation for the complexity and strangeness of the world we inhabit, both digital and physical. The internet is not just a collection of websites and apps and social media platforms. It is a landscape, a frontier, a place where extraordinary things can happen, where mysteries can be born and legends can be made. Cicada 3301 is proof of that, living evidence that the age of mystery is not over, that there are still puzzles that resist easy solutions, still organizations that operate in the shadows, still questions that remain unanswered. If you made it this far, thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most fascinating puzzles in the history of the internet. The story of Cicada 3301 is a tale of cryptography and mystery, of brilliance and secrecy, of questions that may never be fully answered. Whether Cicada will return, whether the remaining pages of Liber Primus will ever be decrypted, whether the full truth will ever be revealed, we cannot know. But the journey itself, the pursuit of understanding, the thrill of the mystery, the transformation that comes from engaging with something that challenges and changes us, that is something we can hold on to. That is something worth celebrating. So rest now. Let the story settle in your mind like sediment drifting to the bottom of a still pond. Perhaps somewhere in the quiet spaces of your thoughts, in the liminal hours between waking and sleep, you will find your own path, your own puzzle, your own cicada waiting to emerge from the depths. Perhaps you will be inspired to learn about cryptography, to explore the philosophy of privacy, to question the systems of surveillance and control that shape our world. Perhaps you will create your own mystery, your own challenge, your own gift to the curious minds of future generations. Or perhaps you will simply carry with you the knowledge that the world is stranger and more wonderful than it appears, that beneath the surface of everyday life there are hidden layers, secret knowledge, communities working in silence toward purposes we can only guess at. That alone is a valuable gift, a reminder to look deeper, to question more, to never accept that what you see is all there is. The cicadas spent 17 years underground before emerging into the light. Cicada 3301 emerged briefly, sang its song and returned to the depths. Whether it will emerge again, we cannot say, but the song remains, echoing through the halls of the internet, calling to those who have ears to hear, challenging those who dare to listen. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with hidden messages, ancient runes, perfect primes, and the endless pursuit of knowledge. May you find your true will and have the courage to follow it wherever it leads. And may you always remember that the greatest mysteries are not those that are solved, but those that transform us in the seeking. This has been The Sleepy Computer Scientist. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and never stop looking for the hidden layers beneath the surface of things. Sleep well,